the Western philosophy, Will Durant, Section 4, The Ethics, page 179. The most precious protection in modern philosophy is cast into geometrical form to make the thought Euclidically clear, but the result is a laconic obscurity in which every line requires a Talmud of commentary. The scholastics had formulated their thought so, but never so pithily, and they had been helped to clarity by their foreordained conclusions. Descartes had suggested that philosophy could not be exact until it expressed itself in the forms of mathematics. But he had never grappled with his own ideal. Spinoza came to the suggestion with a mind trained in mathematics as the very basis of all rigorous scientific procedure. And impressed with the achievements of Copernicus, Kepler, and Galileo, to our more loosely textured minds, the result is an exhausting concentration of both matter and form, and we are tempted to console ourselves by denouncing this philosophy, geometry, as an artificial chess game of thought in which axioms, definitions, theorems, and proofs are manipulated like kings and bishops, knights and pawns. A logical solitaire invented to solace Spinoza's loneliness. Order is against the grain of our minds. We prefer to follow the straggling lines of fantasy and to weave our philosophy precariously out of our dreams. But Spinoza had but one compelling desire: to reduce the intolerable chaos of the world to unity and order. He had the northern hunger for truth rather than the southern lust for beauty. The artist in him was purely an architect, building a system of thought to perfect symmetry and form. Again, the modern student will stumble and grumble over the terminology of Spinoza. Writing in Latin, he was compelled to express his essentially modern thought in medieval and scholastic terms. There was no other language of philosophy which would then have been understood. So he uses the term substance, where we should write reality or essence; perfect, where we should write complete; ideal for our object; objectively for subjectively; and formally for objectively. These are hurdles in the race, which will deter the weakling but will stimulate the strong. In short, Spinoza is not to be read. He is to be studied. You must approach him as you would approach Euclid, recognizing that in these brief 200 pages a man has written down his lifetime's thought with stoic sculpture of everything superfluous. Do not think to find its core by running over it rapidly. Never in the work of philosophy was there so little that could be skipped without loss. Every part depends upon preceding parts. Some obvious and apparently needless proposition turns out to be the cornerstone of the imposing development of logic. You will not understand any important section thoroughly till you have read and pondered the whole, though one need not say, with Jacobi's enthusiastic exaggeration, that no one has understood Spinoza to whom a single line of the Ethics remained obscure. Here, doubtless, says Spinoza in the second part of his book, the reader will become confused and will recollect many things which will bring him to a standstill. And therefore I pray him to proceed gently with me, and form no judgment concerning these things until he shall have read all. Read the book. Not all at once, but in small portions at many sittings. And having finished it, consider that you have but begun to understand it. Read then some commentary like Pollock's Spinoza, or Martineau's study of Spinoza, or better, both finally. Read the Ethics again. It will be a new book to you. When you have finished it a second time, you will remain forever a lover of philosophy. Paragraph 1. Nature and God. Page 1 plunks us at once into the maelstrom of metaphysics. Our modern hard-headed, or is it soft-headed, abhorrence of metaphysics captures us, and for a moment we wish we were anywhere except in Spinoza. But then metaphysics, as William James said, is nothing but an attempt to think things out clearly to their ultimate significance, to find their substantial essence in the scheme of reality, or as Spinoza puts it, their essential substance, and thereby to unify all truth and reach that highest of all generalizations, which even to the practical Englishman, constitutes philosophy. Science itself, which so superciliously scorns metaphysics, assumes a metaphysics in its every thought. It happens that the metaphysic which it assumes is the metaphysics of Spinoza. There are three pivotal terms in Spinoza's system: substance, attribute, and mode. Attribute we put aside temporarily for simplicity's sake. A mode is any individual thing or event, any particular form or shape, which reality transiently assumes you, your body, your thoughts, your group, your species, your planet are modes. All these are forms, modes, almost literally fashions of some eternal and invariable reality lying behind and beneath them. What is this underlying reality? Spinoza calls it substance, as literally that which stands beneath. 8 generations have fought voluminous battles over the meaning of this term. We must not be discouraged if we fail to resolve the matter in a paragraph. One error we should guard against: substance does not mean the constituent material of anything, as when we speak of wood as the substance of a chair. We approach Spinoza's use of the word when we speak of the substance of his remarks. If we go back to the scholastic philosophers from whom Spinoza took the term, we find that they used it as a translation of the Greek ousia, which is the present participle of einai, to be, and indicates the inner being or essence. Substance, then, is that which is. Spinoza had not forgotten the impressive "I am who I am" of Genesis, that which eternally and unchangeably is, and of which everything else must be a transient form or mode. If now we compare this division of the world into substance and modes with its division in the improvement of the intellect into the eternal order of laws and the invariable relations on the one hand, and the temporal order of time begotten and death-destined things on the other, we are impelled to the conclusion that Spinoza means by substance here very nearly what he meant by the eternal order there. Let us provisionally take it as one element in the term substance, then that it betokens the very structure of existence underlying all events and things, and constituting the essence of the world. But further, Spinoza identifies substance with nature and God, after the manner of the scholastics. He conceives nature under a double aspect, as active and vital process, which Spinoza calls natura naturans, nature begetting, the elant, vital, and creative evolution of Bergson, and as the passive product of this process, naturata, nature begotten, the material and contents of nature, its wood and winds and waters, its hills and fields and myriad external forms. It is in the latter sense that he denies, and in the former sense that he affirms, the identity of nature and substance and God, substance and moods, the eternal order and the temporal order. Active nature and passive nature, God and the world, all these are for Spinoza coincident and synonymous dichotomies. Each divides the universe into essence and incident. That substance is insubstantial, that it is form and not matter, that it has nothing to do with that mongrel and neuter composite of matter and thought, which some interpreters have supposed it to be, stands out clearly enough from this identification of substance with creative, but not with passive or material nature. A passage from Spinoza correspondence may help us. I take a totally different view of God and nature from that which the later Christians usually entertained, for I hold that God is the immanent and not the extraneous cause of all things. I say all is in God. All lives and moves in God. And this I maintain with the Apostle Paul, and perhaps with every one of the philosophers of antiquity, although in a way other than this. I might even venture to say that my view is the same as that entertained by the Hebrews of old. If so, much may be inferred from certain traditions. greatly altered or falsified though they be. It is, however, a complete mistake on the part of those who say that my purpose is to show that God and nature, under which last term they understand a certain mass of corporeal matter, are one and the same. I had no such intention. Again, in the treatise on religion and the state, he writes, by the help of God, I mean the fixed and unchangeable order of nature, or the chain of natural events. The universal laws of nature and the eternal decrees of God are one and the same thing. From the infinite nature of God, all things follow by the same necessity and in the same way as it follows from the nature of a triangle. From eternity to eternity, that its three angles are equal to two right angles. What the laws of the circle are to all circles, God is to the world. Like substance, God is the causal chain or process, the underlying condition of all things, the law and the structure of the world. This concrete universe of moods and things is to God as a bridge is to its design, its structure, and the laws of mathematics and mechanics according to which it is built. These are the sustaining basis, the underlying condition, the substance of the bridge. Without them it would fall. And like the bridge, the world itself is sustained by its structure and its laws. It is upheld in the hand of God. The will of God and the laws of nature being one and the same reality diversely phrased, it follows that all events are the mechanical operation of invariable laws, and not the whim of an irresponsible autocrat seated in the stars. The mechanism which Descartes saw in matter and the body alone, Spinoza sees in God and the mind as well. It is a world of determinism, not of design, because we act for conscious ends. We suppose that all processes have such ends in view, and because we are human, we suppose that all events lead up to man and are designed to subserve his needs. But this is an anthropocentric delusion, like so much of our thinking. The root of the greatest errors in philosophy lies in projecting our human purposes, criteria, and preferences into the objective universe. Hence, our problem of evil. We strive to reconcile the ills of life with the goodness of God, forgetting the lesson taught to Job, that God is beyond our little good and evil. Good and bad are relative to human and often individual tastes and ends, and have no validity for a universe in which individuals are ephemeral and in which the moving finger writes even the history of the race in water. Whenever, then, anything in nature seems to us ridiculous, absurd, or evil, it is because we have but a partial knowledge of things, and are in the main ignorant of the order and the coherence of nature as a whole, and because we want everything to be arranged according to the dictates of our own reason, although in fact what our reason pronounces bad is not bad as regards the order and the laws of universal nature, but only as regards the laws of our own nature taken separately. As for the terms good and bad, they indicate nothing positive considered in themselves. For one and the same thing can at the same time be good, bad, and indifferent. For example, music is good to the melancholy, bad to mourners, and indifferent to the dead. Bad and good are prejudices which the eternal reality cannot recognize. It is right that the world should illustrate the full nature of the infinite, and not merely the particular ideas of man. And as with the good and bad, so with the ugly and the beautiful, these two are subjective and personal terms, which, flung at the universe, will be returned to the sender unhonored. I would warn you that I do not attribute to nature either beauty or deformity, order or confusion. Only in relation to our imagination can things be called beautiful or ugly, well ordered or confused. For example, if motion which the nerves receive by means of the eyes from objects before us is conducive of health, those objects are called beautiful. If it is not, those objects are called ugly. In such passages, Spinoza passes beyond Plato, who thought that his aesthetic judgments must be the laws of creation, and the eternal decrees of God. Is God a person? Not in any human sense of this word. Spinoza noticed the popular belief which still pictures God as of the male, not of the female sex. And he is gallant enough to reject a conception which mirrored the earthly subordination of woman to man, to a correspondent who objected to his impersonal conception of deity. Spinoza writes in terms reminiscent of the old Greek skeptic Xenophanes. When you say that if I allow not in God the operations of seeing, hearing, observing, willing, and the like, you know not what sort of God mind is. I thence conjecture that you believe there is no greater perfection than such as can be explained by the attributes aforesaid. I do not wonder at it, for I believe that a triangle, if it could speak, would in like manner say that God is eminently triangular, and a circle that the divine nature is eminently circular, and thus would every one ascribe his own attributes to God. Finally, neither intellect nor will pertains to the nature of God, in the usual sense in which these human qualities are attributed to the deity, but rather the will of God is the sum of all causes and all laws, and the intellect of God is the sum of all mind. The mind of God, as Spinoza conceives it, is all the mentality that is scattered over space and time, the diffused consciousness that animates the world. All things, in however diverse degree, are animated. Life or mind is one phase or aspect of everything that we know, as material extension or body is another. These are the two phases or attributes, as Spinoza calls them, through which we perceive the operation of substance or God. In this sense, God, the universal process and eternal operation of substance, or God. In this sense, God, the universal process and eternal reality behind the flux of things, may be said to have both a mind and a body. Neither mind nor matter is God, but the mental processes and the molecular processes which constitute the double history of the world. This, and their causes and their laws, are God. This part is over.